IACUCs came into existence in the mid-1980s. And, but I have to say that I think the general attitude, and I was on that original committee, the general attitude was, well, where is this coming from? Again, resistance to outside regulation and so on and so forth. But there was absolutely no discussion, at least at the meetings, and none that I ever had with some other members, about what was the historical context that led to this. It was not a topic. It was, here are the rules, here are the expectations, and this is what the committee is supposed to look like in terms of membership, and this is what the committee is supposed to do when they're evaluating protocols and so on and so forth. There was no discussion about the historical Animal Welfare Act instantiation in 1966, or these major changes that occurred in 1985. It was all more or less, we would trudge through what we had to do, and that we did it because we were required to do it, and so on. I think it was an unfortunate attitude, because it deprived us of the possibility of appreciating why this circumstance developed. Why was it felt that self-regulation was inadequate? I think I, like a lot of people, scientists, are easily insulted when people ask you, or tell you, rather, to do things. But I have to say that was another very important set of moments when you started going into laboratories where the experiments were being done. I mean, up to that point in time, you know, our laboratory inspections stopped at the laboratory door. And it was an education to see what was going behind some of those doors. The ignorance that was playing itself out in some animal treatment, using, you know, wrong analgesic medications and inappropriate anesthetics for certain kinds of manipulations, and so on and so forth. Again, I would say nothing done out of intentions to harm, but out of tradition. This is the way I learned it. This is the way this person's learning it now and doing it, and so on. It was very important. But you know, there was another aspect of those early IACUC meetings that I thought, I think may have been lost now. People didn't really know what to do at these meetings. You know, we didn't know exactly how to look at these protocols. You know, we had some ideas about what we were supposed to expect on the part of people submitting the protocols, and so on and so forth. But we were uncertain and just trying to find our way, how to make judgments about protocols, and so on and so forth. And as a result, I think on occasion, like, an ethical discussion would break out. You know, it would just happen. You'd realize, hey, we're talking ethics here about cost, benefit, and so on and so forth. There was one case that I'll never forget, and it was a young burn surgeon. He was a fellow, and he had put in a protocol to do this burn study on pigs. And the vet at that time had some trouble or problem with some aspects of the procedure, and had tabled it, had the protocol tabled. And so the next time it comes up, the protocol comes up to the committee, this young investigator comes into the meeting. He had asked to speak directly to the membership, and he came with the chair of surgery. And Anybody that knows about health science centers knows that the chair of surgery is the silverback male of the dominant structure of most medical schools. And so here's the chair traipsing behind, sitting down. And so we're discussing this protocol and burning these pigs and so on. And obviously this researcher is sitting there with, he's got the chief dominant guy right behind him here, and who's going to stand up to him. And out of nowhere, this chair of surgery just says, "Oh, well, Alan, his faculty member, why don't you do this study on yourself?" And he goes on. He said, "Look, you could just burn yourself in 3 or 4 places on your thigh, on both thighs. You'd have 10 data points. You could try this, and you could try your intervention on this side and the other on the other." And he said, "Look, I'll help you get some of the other residents to participate. Nobody's going to be terribly scarred. There's just going to be little, 3/4 inch little burn spots on it." And the meeting is just like stops. Here's a senior man, surgeon, being, of course, very paternalistic about he was in charge and how things were going to go on, but he was also coming out of the tradition of self-experimentation in medicine, where that was seen as an important aspect of it. That sometimes you did this research on yourself. And as I remember, he said, "Look, Werner Forsman, who got the Nobel Prize for the Forsman catheter, threading these." He said he didn't want to use dogs, so he stood in front of an X-ray machine and threaded the catheter up into his heart, and because he thought it was the wrong thing to do to use these dogs, and he should do the studies on himself. And he said he got the Nobel Prize. Maybe you'll get the. It was quite a. I haven't been in an IACUC meeting where that degree of freewheeling discussion has happened. I think there's been some very good discussion very often about costs and benefits, but I think people would be much more careful and less impulsive about saying things like this. I think things are just well organized and uniform and so on and so forth. So I think we miss certain things in IACUC meetings now, and that might be an example of one of them.